Hey, this is Chuck Hester, a correspondent for WRL Checkwire. I have the opportunity to speak to one of my good friends, Ryan O'Donnell, who is a NC State grad and has some really cool announcements to make today. So, Ryan, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me, Chuck. Excited to be here.
Great. So let's start with NC State, and then we'll go into what you've been doing since then. So tell us about. I know you're an NC State grad, so take it from there.
Yeah, I mean, go Pack. I arrived on campus in NC State a little over a decade ago, and was a part of the entrepreneurship community at NC State. That's where I started my first startup. That's how I met my co-founder and started my second startup. So big fan of NC State entrepreneurship. And I think there's just so many cool things coming out of the university these days.
Cool. And I know you've done 2 or 3 different companies since you graduated. Talk a little bit about those.
Yeah, so my story really got started actually even before NC State. I was a student at the School of Science and Math, and I was a part of our Guinness World Record food drive. We raised more food faster than anyone in one place, anywhere in the world, and still hold the record 15 years later. So that was my first entrepreneurial endeavor. And when I was at the school, was a part of a kind of a program we had where we got to do a kind of an intensive study in something, and that was around how to start a nonprofit. So when I went to NC State, my first startup, it was called Pennies for Progress. We were a tech nonprofit that allowed you to round up and donate whenever you made a purchase. So, over 10 years ago, before that was a much more popular thing to do, you see it everywhere. We were really one of the first national platforms that did that at scale with, over 1,000 merchants in store and online. That was kind of the start of my entrepreneurial journey at NC State.
Excellent. And then on to EmployUs was one of your companies as well, right?
Yeah. Turned my first real job as a recruiter into my second company, EmployUs. We really saw what so many people know in the recruiting world, which is the best way to get a job is through a referral. And we found that most companies don't have great employee referral programs. So second startup kind of got out of the nonprofit world, got in the for-profit world, and decided to build a software company to help companies run their employee referral programs. Had a great run with it. Did it for almost nine years.
Wow.
Raised a little bit of money. Sold it to a company in Chicago called Hirology in 21. Stayed around there for a little bit. Did a victory lap, and then ultimately kind of got started working on Sunlight after that acquisition.
And I would say that you characterize yourself as a social entrepreneur, and a lot of passionate projects happen because of things that go on in your life. So let's get to the real exciting stuff here, which is Sunlight. So tell us about Sunlight. What was the inspiration for this company, and what does it do?
Yeah, it all actually got started while I was scaling EmployUs. My wife and I became foster parents. So we were foster parents in Durham County for a little almost 3 years, and just got a front row seat to see just how broken our child welfare system is. We had a little boy who lived with us for almost 3 years. And we had found out that not only did they tell us they didn't know who his dad was, his dad had never, abused him or neglected him. But we just saw how broken the system was and how it kept them apart, and thought there needed to be a better way to just see the child welfare system actually keep kids safe and also support families. So while I was building EmployUs, eventually we sold. My life changed significantly once we sold that company, and I was still stuck in this foster care world. And I describe it as the world of fax machines and snail mail, because it's so different than tech startup land. And I just saw so many times where an overworked, underpaid social worker doesn't have a good way to track the families that they're working with. And that has real consequences for the actual kids and families impacted by the system. So Sunlight ultimately kind of was born from that, and wanting to not only bring a little sunlight is the best disinfectant, kind of the saying we're going with, but really just to help improve our social safety net, kind of broadly speaking, but specifically with our first product, Your Case Plan, really reducing the number of days that kids are stuck in foster care due to what is inevitably a lot of communication issues, a lot of he said, she said, a lot of kind of day-to-day administrative issues that kind of needlessly keep kids stuck in foster care.
So describe the platform. Who uses it? How does it used?
Yeah, so I built it really first for our foster son's dad. So for parents impacted by the system, Your Case Plan helps them navigate what they have to do to bring their kids home. What we know in the foster care world is that, at least in North Carolina, only 10% of the kids that are in foster care are there because they were abused. In over 90% of the cases, they're mostly because for kind of vague reasons of neglect, which usually is synonymous with poverty, and usually parents, to get their kids home, have to complete things like parenting classes, do drug counseling, prove that they've got a job, prove they have housing, things like that. So our app helps them communicate with their attorney, with their social worker, see a to-do list of what they need to do, get reminded about events and tasks that they have to do to bring their kids home. And ultimately, we keep it all documented in one place. So, hopefully when everyone goes to court, everyone's on the same page. They know exactly what they got to do. And ultimately, we can get kids out of foster care sooner by just making sure that we don't have all these communication breakdowns that are a little bit more inevitable when you're dealing with, papers being shuffled around a desk.
Yeah. And yourcaseplan.com is up and running. And is it available for folks who want to use it?
Yeah. We've been working on it kind of in stealth the past 100 days. 100 days ago, I quit my job at Hierology, making good money, decided to go all in on this. And past 100 days, we've signed up our first state customer, the state of Oklahoma. Their Office of Family Representation is our first statewide customer. I finished building out the product, and we're launching it with them now. So, yourcaseplan.com is where people can go to learn more, and really excited about it.
That's awesome. Glad to see that you're making a difference in the plan. And like I said, passion for what you've been doing and life experiences makes a big difference. Real quick, Ryan, because we're almost out of time, but I wanted to ask you, you've been in the Triangle startup entrepreneurial community for, golly, it's hard to believe, close to 12, 15 years, something like that. But talk about, how's your outlook on the community now? How do you see it moving forward?
Yeah, Chuck, when we first met, I was a freshly minted NC State grad, and now I've got a couple gray hairs of my own now. I just say that, like, the local startup community, I think it's incredible. It's incredibly supportive, as it's always been, but we've just got more people coming to the area. We've got more people starting more companies, which is great. We're starting to see more companies that have sold, and now people are coming back to do, their second or third thing. That's kind of the boat that I'm in. But when I was first getting started, there was not a lot of repeat entrepreneurs in town. There were not a lot of success stories of folks who had raised money, sold something, and then kind of done it again. And now we've just seen a lot more of that. Whether it's folks like Joe Colopy with what he's doing with Colopy Ventures and Jurassic and Primordial, and so many others that are kind of like reinvesting in the startup community. So I'm very long on the Triangle. And very excited about starting Sunlight right here in the area too.
That's great. That's awesome. Well, again, congratulations on the new startup, and we will have information within the article to give you a chance to take a look at yourcaseplan.com. Ryan, thank you for taking the time today.
Yeah, thanks so much, Chuck.